Okay. So basically, I'm gonna show what I do for King Bulbin 2. The first time through, I'm going to basically try to show what points exactly I line up at and where I pull the bomb using visual cues. And the second time through, I'm gonna go through and kind of like talk about what I would use for audio cues. So here we go. Alright, so the start of the fight, the first bomb is probably the hardest. On this one, I use a combination of visual and audio cues. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up on this line. Okay, so here, do I have the arrow here? Here, I think I have the arrow. Let's put it above the thing here. Alright, so there's lines like these that line up like so. There's 4 of them, or 3 I think, something like that. There's one that's like down the middle right here. There's one along the side here, and there's one over here. You can kind of tell where they are. I'm going to line up halfway between these left 2 ones. And then basically, I don't really use a visual cue to pull out this bomb, but if I did, it would probably be when so Link has a sword, so probably when the sword's like around here, is probably where I'd pull it. But I use an audio cue for that, and we'll go into that later, but that's basically that bomb pull. So we're gonna walk forward, and then you see, it's kind of hard to see, there's a crack in the ground here. Okay, whenever Epona goes over that crack, I throw the bomb. So right about here, I'm going to throw the bomb. Right, whenever her back feet are on the... why am I using an arrow? I have a mouse. You can see the mouse. Right when her back feet are on this this crack here, I throw the bomb. And then I veer off to the right because I want to go off to the right for my next cue. Okay. So I just dash to the end. I don't think this matters all that much. I don't think it should mess with the timing. But then I start going straight away, and I think that is important. So I'm going to go up, and again, I'm going to line up where his hilt is here. So whenever his hilt gets to like right here, so that basically it's lined up with the bottom of this little corner here. So this was probably a little bit of an early bomb pull, but it still ended up working. Basically, I pull it around there, and then I wait until I'm like halfway between the crack and King Bulbin, so about right here. So the crack was back here, King Bulbin's now about here, so I'm around halfway. You can kind of just eyeball where you throw, and then I veer off to the right. You could probably make that throw a little safer, but you just gotta get used to it. Okay. So then, since I didn't slow down, and I just let myself hit the edge and then turn around automatically, which I do for all of these, by the way. But since I did that, what's her face? I can't remember her name. Is gonna talk to me and basically give me a text box. But that's also going to mean that I start slower, so I'm gonna need a slightly different cue. But this one's actually pretty consistent. All right, so I'm gonna wait until around here, a little after here. So basically, you'll see there's like, if you can imagine, there's like a triangle between here, here, and like here. Whenever Link's hilt is like in that, I'm gonna pull. So like, you missed where I pressed the button to pull it, but I already pulled it at this point. And then basically, I just cook the bomb until I get pretty close, just like a little bit before the crack, and just throw it. He has actually a pretty big horizontal hitbox when he's swerving like this, so it doesn't really matter. You can just kind of eyeball it. Now, I mean, if he's going off to one side, you can like aim more to that side. You just got to make sure you don't get hit. That's the most important thing about this. So like, I'm gonna go off to the right here because I see he's going to the left still, so I can dodge to the right. But if the timing was weird and he was going the other way, I might dodge to the wall instead. But anyways, so that's how you would get this guy purely with visual cues. Now I'm going to talk about audio cues, which The first one is entirely consistent, and I actually use this because I think it's a good cue. And then the second two are dependent on if you've done everything correctly and haven't paused or anything, or made unnecessary movement. But the first one's really good. Okay, so right there. So it goes da 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 da. Alright, so basically I'm gonna go when I snap, essentially. So here, we'll go back and go through this and I'll snap on the right timing. Right there. Maybe a little bit earlier than where I snapped there. It's basically on the note before the second, like, high note there. And essentially, if I pull the bomb here, and I've already moved over, then this should be good timing. Now, if you pull a little late, and this goes for all the bomb pulls, if you can tell that you pulled a little late, you can just delay a little bit by moving to the side a tiny bit. So you can move off to the left or right here a tiny bit, just to delay when you're going to get the King Bulbin a little bit more. And at that point, if you've done that, then you should have the right timing to hit him. It's something you just have to get used to. But if you get it down, you can adjust pretty much accordingly to when you pull out the bomb, as long as it's, somewhat decent timing. So you could theoretically pull on the second high note, and if you wasted enough time, it would work. But it's easier to not pull on that note, probably. But anyways, so I pulled then, and then assuming you got that pull right, then basically this next pull will line up with a note pretty well. So bum 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 bum. So like when I turn around, it's starting that first note, and then on that second note, I'm gonna pull the bomb. I'm gonna go back through and listen to it again. So turn around automatically. Right there. The throws don't really have audio cues that I use because I just eyeballs those. So, basically, this is how that goes right there. We're gonna listen to it again, but I pull the bomb basically when I snapped there. Right. And so all of those are dependent on you having a perfect fight up to that point. If you've had to adjust because of mistiming, then your audio cues are going to be off. If you don't get the text box quickly and start moving immediately out of the text box, then they won't be as good. But the first one is entirely consistent. And that's probably one that you should use if you're going to go for the audio cue. There's better setups for probably the first bomb. I just showed off the one I used specifically. Anyways, so we'll just go through the end of this, and voila, you kill King Bulbin. And that's it. That's how you get the 3 bomb. There are, like, some... How do I put this? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the backup setups a little bit. I don't have them recorded, but the backup setups for 4th and 5th bomb, if you have to go for those. I'm just going to assume that if you miss a bomb, you're still going to go for the 3rd bomb spot, essentially. So, like, if you miss the first bomb, for example, the 2nd bomb timing is exactly the same. The 3rd bomb timing, which would be your 2nd hit, is actually the same timing as the 3rd bomb in this. You just can't use the audio cue, probably. And so at that point you start getting into 4th and 5th bomb territory, which are a little bit weird, but go through them. And those, King Bulbin can start moving wonkily at that point, which is unfortunate, but generally speaking, and this varies a bit, but basically, so if you're coming back on the 4th bomb, so you missed one of the first 3, and now you're going for the 4th, the timing is pretty much the same, maybe like a little bit later than where I'm pulling here. So like maybe when the hilt is like around here, you would pull. Keep in mind I pulled a little earlier than than where the hilt is right now. But if you pull like around here, maybe, because the timing is like a little different. It's not very different. In fact, you could probably get away with the same exact visual cue, but sometimes it varies a bit. And I've had success with like around here. So anyways. And then we'll go back to the first one to talk about the 5th bomb timing. Okay, so essentially you'd line up along here, along this line, and then you'd want to pull whenever the hilt is like just underneath this horizontal line right here between these 2 corners. And if you do that correctly, then you should get the timing to hit him on that last one. And once you get beyond that, the timings are theoretically the same, but they start to vary more and more the further you get away from 3 bombs. So ideally, you just get it within the first 3. If you don't, you can have backups for 4 and 5. Beyond that, you're probably going to want to reset your run at some point, assuming you have a good time. But anyways, yeah, that's essentially King Bulbin 2 with bombs, and that's how I do it. I felt like making a better video on it than that talks about some audio cues and such. So anyways, hope this helps.